What an exciting fight this is to break down. Two of the most devastating heavyweight strikers we've ever seen in the octagon. Alistair Overeem on a roll towards the title, not allowing anything to step in his way, and Andrei Arlovski on a resurgence in his career, knocking off some of the best fighters in the world. These guys have got to go through each other to get to that UFC gold. As I mentioned in the Fight Focus section, Alistair Overeem has a multitude of techniques that he can use to slow that forward aggression of Andrei Arlovski. The one I want to focus on first and foremost is synonymous with Thai boxing champions, and that's the knees. And no one can show a more devastating knee than Alistair Overeem. Two knees I want to talk to you about in the arsenal of Alistair Overeem. The first one is the lead knee, the skip front knee, which is very good for head strikes. The second knee is the back knee, which is much more of a thrust to the midsection, good for stopping your opponent in their tracks and following up with something else. The reason I like the lead knee is because it covers a lot of distance. So if he finds himself in a situation where the fight has slowed down, Andrei Arlovski is not being quite as aggressive, or he starts to duck his head when Alistair Overeem starts to move forward, this will be a good technique to use then. What he does is he's going to throw the back knee. The back knee is going to come up, but he's obviously too far away from his opponent. But this allows him to gather momentum so he can skip through to land the next knee. So as I'm in my fight stance here, I'm going to throw my back knee as if I'm throwing it towards my opponent. But at the point in which it would land, I'm actually going to switch in the air and skip through with the front knee. This is very good for striking under the chin of the opponent because the force is rising upwards towards the sky. So in this situation, I'm going to stand in my stance, I'm going to throw my back knee, and then I'm going to skip forward with the lead. The second technique is the back knee. It's a little bit more straightforward than the first one. There are less components to it, but it's very good at stopping an opponent as they're moving forward, which Andrei Arlovski is bound to be doing, particularly in the first round. So as I'm standing in my stance here, Jake's going to take a step forward as if he's mimicking the opponent being aggressive. And I'm going to literally fire this back knee through and then jump off my base foot. My aim is, instead of punching up into the face, to actually go into the chest and stop my opponent in their tracks or push them back. Andrei Arlovski is much more of a boxer in mixed martial arts. He's got good takedown defense and fast hands, which often leads to the finish early on in the fight.
Bigfoot goes down! Andrei Arlovski has done it!
The technique I want to focus on today is the double right hand. You will see it in the Antonio Silva fight. He knocks him out early in the first round with that one. But if you go way back into his career, watch the Cabbage Correa fight, he also uses it in that at UFC 47. So this is something that's stayed with him throughout his career and has just become more refined over time. If you watch the Bigfoot Silva fight, you'll see him push forward with the first right hand and then follow it up with the second right hand because he sees Antonio Silva giving that distance and creating that space. So I'm going to show you this now. My partner Jake is going to stand in front of me. As I throw my first right hand, he's going to do exactly what Bigfoot did, and he's going to back up, creates that space. So the right hand falls short. So what Andrei Arlovski does is he steps forward and he throws it a second time, right over the top of his shoulder. It's a perfectly timed technique and perfectly placed, and most people wouldn't expect a second right hand to follow the first. The second Andrei Arlovski technique I want to cover is kind of a bolt-on to that double right hand that he uses. We saw it in the Travis Brown fight, and it's a good option if the opponent doesn't move back when you throw that first right hand. Instead, they circle off to the side, because then you can use the back fist. And it was very, very effective in the Travis Brown fight.
Oh, that's it! again!
We've talked about Andrei Arlovski using his right hand to gauge his opponent's reaction. He throws the first one to see how they're going to react, but they don't always do the same thing that Bigfoot did. They don't always move back in a straight line. If you watch the Travis Browne fight, you'll notice that Travis Browne does a good job of slipping to the side and circling off. But this does open up another option for Andrei Arlovski, and it's an evolution in his game that we've not seen until these later few fights that he's had. So as the right hand comes out, if I miss my right hand, it exposes me to my opponent. I'm open, wide open here to be hit with all kinds of techniques. So what Andrei Arlovski uses is a back fist in this situation to break that rhythm. So as my opponent passes by, he steps up and throws the back fist just there. It's not necessarily a knockout technique, but it can certainly begin the end of a fight. It can interrupt his opponent's attack, and it can start something else of his own. If Overeem is going to slow Andrei Arlovski down, he's going to have to start chopping away at him quite early. The knees to the midsection are going to be very useful, but one of the techniques that he utilised very well in the Roy Nelson fight is the chop low kick, and I'm going to talk about that right now.
Oh, excellent kick. There's a nice leg kick again. Oh, one more. He's torturing that leg.
One of my favourite techniques in all of martial arts is the low kick, and we see fighters across the UFC using it to great effect. But Alistair Overeem throws it slightly differently to most people. Usually when you're aiming for a low kick, you're aiming for the thigh, the meat of the muscle, which deadens that leg and slows that movement down. But if you watch Alistair Overeem against Roy Nelson, you'll notice him focusing on a lower target. He aims for the top of the calf muscle and the side of the knee. So whenever he throws that technique, not only is it damaging the leg, but it also buckles the knee to the side, which takes away that forward momentum, that forward rush of Andrei Arlovski. It can be very effective. So there you have it, a broad range of techniques utilised by both fighters. But the question is, which one can make the game plan stick on the night? And that's the answer we're all waiting for.